my take.
Okay, thanks. Okay,
Look like we've done this before.
beating on the microphone. Okay, it is 7 p.m. and it's July 10th, 2025. I'm calling the meeting of the Trophy Club Planning and Zoning Commission to order, 7:01 actually, let's make it 7:01. First item, public comments. If anyone would like to speak to the commission, please fill out the public comment form and hand it to Jackie Ross over here. If you would like to speak on a public hearing item, an opportunity will be presented during that time when we have the public hearing later. The board commission is not permitted to discuss or take action on any presentations made concerning matters that are not listed on this agenda. Did anyone, Jackie, did anyone sign up for this?
Not in person.
No. Any correspondence or anything?
You do have the one email that we received from Ms. Kiefer in front of you. She's not within the 200 feet of the notice area, but just for transparency, we put that in front of you.
Okay. So she's not here?
No.
Pat's not here, okay. All right, so duly noted in the record. Okay, regular items on the agenda. Item number 1 is PDAMD-25-002 Hutchins Barbecue PD 25 Amendment. We're going to conduct a public hearing and make a recommendation to the town council on a request made by Hutchins Barbecue applicant on behalf of the landowner, Bread 114 LLC, to amend Planned Development District 25 PD 25, final detailed site plan to allow for dining room expansion and off-site parking at 3000 South State Highway 114. The subject property is legally described as Trophy Wood Business Center, Block B, Lot 2R2, approximately 2.052 acres, and is generally located at the northeast corner of Trophy Wood Drive and State Highway 114 in the town of Trophy Club, Tarrant County, Texas. The time is 7:02, and we will open the public hearing. Staff report first, please.
All right, good evening, commissioners. I was expecting you to say E-I-E-I-O after you finished all that mouthful of stuff. So that's a long.
We have to say it.
Yeah, so PD 25, they were originally adopted 2002. That encompasses approximately 16 acres. That's the Trophy Wood Center. That's basically us. And you got Hutchins Barbecue, HG Supply, and that's the Trophy Club Center. Over the years, that PD has been amended. In fact, it wasn't too long ago, in July of 23, Hutchins wanted to amend that PD for their site plan. And if you recall, we had outside storage, the walk-in cooler, the infamous smokestacks, and a few other exterior modifications and signage. So the applicant, Hutchins Barbecue, they have requested an amendment to allow, they'd like to enclose, it's about almost 900 square feet, their outdoor patio area. I think I've got a good, here we go. So that's the highlighted, that yellow area. There's also, okay. So if you're out there in the parking lot, that's what you see. So there's the wooden fence that's around it. And what they'd like to do is enclose that, put a standing seam metal roof, just like they've got on the rest of the building, air conditioning, which would be nice. You have an entry and exit. They'll have an entry from inside to get into that area, and then also you can exit through the back. I think we've got here, if you look, see my cursor, this is where they've got the walk-in, they've got an area here that you'd be also be able to exit. So the site does have very limited parking, as y'all know. So when this first came across my desk, we stamped denied because adding that approximate 900 square feet was going to require at least, well, right at 12 parking spaces. They didn't have 12 parking spaces. So over the last few months, they've gotten with Holiday Inn. Back in August of 24, They entered a shared parking agreement with Holiday Inn for 12 parking spaces for a term of 230 months. So I know it sounds like kind of an odd number, so here's where we came up with this. The applicant is here, and then he's more than happy to come and correct me in a minute. But they have a 25-year lease agreement with the breadwinner owner. And that's when they first signed. So at this point, we're close to, they've been there for a couple years, so that's where that kind of odd number is coming up, is they've got about 23 years left on the lease, and so they've got a 23-year-ish lease with Holiday Inn. Trophy Club does require the parking to be located on site. So as part of this proposed PD amendment, it would be allowing off-site parking as well. The original PD approved in 2002 also required a handful of things anytime that you're amending the PD, and I've got it listed there in your packet. Really, just the first one is the one of any concern, which is the final detailed site plan and elevation. So every time that changes, it requires us to come to you for recommendation, approval. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, that's sightline studies, landscape plan, photometric, wall and fence criterion signage. None of that is changing on this amendment request. The ordinance is under review with the town attorney currently. And so for our public hearings, notices for the public hearing has been distributed as required by the Town of Trophy Club, zoning ordinance, and state law. And like we stated earlier, we haven't received any letters in support or opposition within that, where do we got here? Within this circle, we have not, but again, just for transparency, we received that email from Mrs. Kiefer. Staff does recommend approval of this PD as presented, and the applicant is here for any questions. I guess after we close the public hearing, he's here and I'm here also.
Okay. Any questions for staff at this point? You have one? Go ahead.
The shared parking agreement with Holiday Inn, that's already been entered into, right?
Yes,
It's already in place?
Yes, sir. It was in the packet, and we've got it signed, and I believe it was even notarized.
Okay, thank you.
So during the remodel, is it contemplated to have construction debris roll-offs or anything else on site to handle any of the material
Do you want to close?
when you're enclosing?
No, do you want to close the public hearing? I don't know when. Open it up.
I think we have the applicant presentation during the public hearing, don't we? Yes. So, assuming the applicant's going to make a presentation,
Do y'all have anything else?
everything in this part of the, okay. Okay, good. Then, we'll close the public hearing at 7:09 PM.
Okay.
Okay, now, does anyone from the, Jackie's anyone signed up to talk about this item?
No, sir.
Okay, so good. So the public meeting's closed, and now the floor is open for discussion. Questions from anyone, for anyone?
No, that was my question to Matt.
Oh.
It was just on staff, is I didn't know if they had any plans to bring any roll-offs or anything else on site while they were doing the enclosure on the structure? Because I know your parking is challenged anyway.
Oh, like construction
Yeah,
dumpsters
yeah.
and roll-off?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm assuming for demo,
Yeah,
but come on up and,
yeah.
Please state your name and your address, please, for the record.
My name is Matt Jones,
Your address?
1300 Keller Parkway. So the initial plan was to not bring a roll-off in because of the space that it does take up. So what we were going to use were gooseneck dump trailers. That way we could transport in and out as needed, and we can maneuver around that way versus just setting a roll-off just in a dead spot. And obviously it taking an 18-wheeler to move, we were going to utilize a gooseneck dump trailer as well. That way we can move it around as needed.
Okay. Oh, great. That was my question. I was
Yes, sir.
afraid with the constraints on parking that you
Yes, sir.
have now,
Yep.
that planting a dumpster out there that takes up 4 or 5 spaces somewhere just is not the best look.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, and the idea was to start, obviously early in the morning, and then by the time of hours of operation, we're gonna move the dumpster off, and then, so that was
Okay.
kind of the initial plan.
That drove my question too around do we have the agreement with Holiday Inn on the spaces already, which we do.
yeah. And so I have a question. Did you talk to the guys at Holiday Inn about putting some kind of sign up that says some parking available at Holiday Inn? Because I don't know if anybody knows that use the restaurant, that they have the ability to park off the grass and over onto the Holiday Inn surface area.
So I will say, anybody that does ask, we do tell them that. But as far as, to answer your question, no, sir, we did not talk about a signage.
Okay. Just curious, because we know,
Right,
but
right.
a lot of the users
Correct.
don't have any idea that may be available. And most of the times, it's not a big deal unless
Right.
it's rained the day before and it's incredibly muddy.
Yes.
I would rather park over on
Yep.
the concrete.
Or if it's currently raining, too.
Absolutely. It doesn't seem to stop them. So, which is a good deal. Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Questions? Commissioner?
Those 8 or so parking spaces that are used for outdoor storage for smokers and wood and trailers and whatever, is that included in the compliance count?
Yes, those are,
Those are?
yes.
Okay. And then, the tract 8 across from the restaurant, that remote,
Yes.
the parking lot, are those included as well, or?
Those are not, sorry. Those are not included. That's town-owned property. And so, at this time, the town is allowing them to be on that,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, all right. Okay, that's my next one. What do you think the impact on this parking over at the Holiday Inn is gonna have on, for pedestrian traffic on Plaza Drive?
Well, are you asking me to guess?
Well, yeah, I guess. 'Cause I don't know if anyone's really gonna know.
Okay, well, my office window faces that, and so I see this on a daily basis. I'm not here on the weekends, but I'm not here often, but there are times. The back and forth pedestrian walking is constant. From probably 11:30 in the morning till, what do you think, 8-ish in the evening?
Yes, sir.
There's a constant flow of traffic on Plaza Drive. It is a private road. It's not a town-owned road, but it is constant. And so where I have seen some traffic of pedestrian traffic is they are leaving Holiday Inn. They're walking out the front door. So these are patrons of Holiday Inn. They are typically walking out the front door and crossing Plaza Drive further down and then getting on that sidewalk, Wood Springs, that area, and then walking, down. That's where we've seen the most, across there. And then same with the highlighted area that's parked. They are typically going across west and then coming down that side and then crossing right there at Trophy Branch and Plaza.
What I'm getting at is, I wonder if anyone's considered putting crosswalks in, both for the Holiday Inn parking and for the existing parking.
So it is private, it is a private road, and if any of these businesses wanted to come to the town and say, hey, we'd like to put this crosswalk or whatever, we would be happy to give them, because we've got crosswalk flashers, right, all over town. And so we could give them the dimensions and the things like that. So, yeah.
So would Hudson's be amenable to that?
I would have to discuss with my boss. I don't think so.
You don't think he'd?
I don't like speaking for him, but I don't think that would be a bit of an issue.
You don't think it would be an issue?
If we had to put crosswalks in,
Uh-huh.
I mean, me personally, I don't think it would be an issue, but
Okay.
I can't speak for,
Oh, you can't speak for.
For the
them.
owner of the
All right,
business,
yeah, no, I get
correct.
that. Okay. And then, my other thought was, the lighting on that sidewalk. Maybe not so much at this time of the year, but as we get, into the winter and fall, we're going to get, it's gonna be dark. And I'm also thinking about lighting that might kind of show people which way to go, to get to Hutchins without walking in the street. And when it's dark, obviously gonna give them, make it safer for them to walk to get to the restaurant. I don't know if the path lighting is the least expensive, or if maybe street lighting is better, but, that I'd like to see considered as well.
I have had,
see families and kids and, as
Yeah.
they walk across when I drive by every now and then. And, I'm thinking that in the town's best interest as well, that maybe we want to do something about crosswalks and maybe some lighting.
so are you following the EDC with the small area plan?
That's my next question.
Okay, so that is,
What are they doing?
that is perfectly integrated with, because EDC and council, they're wanting this entire area to be a very walkable area. That's the whole design of more pedestrian walkability. So, but that would take place after council, looks at that small area plan, adopts that small area plan, and then we start getting developers to come in, then we would be able to integrate that.
That's a long time,
Yes, it is.
and I'm talking now.
Well,
Especially on that plan
yeah.
as presented.
Just going off of the PD and staff reports and things like that, we have, as far as I know, in conversations that I've had, there has not been any issues with pedestrian crossing there, so.
Well, yeah, I'm sure people know how to walk and stuff, but what I'm worried about is down the road and liability for everybody. If we don't take some measures to keep these people safe as traffic's moving on that, and you have pedestrians crossing everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we agree.
And is Holiday Inn okay meeting their requirements by designating 12 spots for Hutchins?
Yes, they are.
They're still okay, all right. And I was gonna ask about the small area plan for these properties, how it's going to affect things in the future.
Okay, well, we can discuss that, but that's not part of this agenda item.
Well, we'll take that offline.
Okay.
All right. What if Hutchins expands further?
I don't see how it's possible unless you go vertical.
yeah, no, I don't think we're gonna go vertical.
Yeah, this is pretty much the maximum of their expansion, because they're taking up now patio space and enclosing it.
Yeah.
And they would have to start losing barbecue pits, and that wouldn't work.
Yeah, we'd be selling burgers, not barbecue at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, well, this is one other thing I just want to throw out there and, to consider, is that, those 8 parking spots, I think, as a Hutchins customer, and maybe it's just me, but, parking near the restaurant's a good thing. Parking away from the restaurant, not so good. And I was wondering if the existing parking lot across the street could be used for some of that storage. Putting some screening in or something, to, like those smokers, I think they're used for off-site, events. And trailers, I think, is the same thing. Of course, the wood that's used at the store.
Okay, are you talking about in this area?
I don't know, what's that area?
Well,
The parking lot in front of the building here.
yeah, that's the parking lot between us and,
No,
Us and
the parking lot, the gravel parking lot that everybody parks at to go to.
that's this.
Yeah, that's the area, right?
That's town-owned property, so no, we're not gonna put screening up for them.
So,
That's,
Maybe
the town owns
it,
that.
man.
No, we're not doing that.
I mean, I will say that we did put screening in to fix that washout there by the road once before.
Yeah.
We've already paid for that out of pocket. We did that ourselves.
Which screening was that? What screening?
There was a washout in that gravel parking lot.
Oh,
There was
He's-
a washout.
Yeah, they're just talking
Coming
about
down onto the roadway.
maintaining.
Yeah.
And they have
Maintain-
done,
maintain
they have
the
done a
parking
good job of maintaining it.
On their nickel,
Yeah.
even though not required to.
So just to follow up a little bit on the commissioner's thought, is there any idea to move maybe some of that equipment over to the 12 spots? Since there is no signage and we're not moving people that direction, would it be more effective if you were to relocate some of the items that are currently behind your building over to the Holiday Inn lot?
Can you specify what items in
So
particular?
you've got, so just off, you've got the smoker, which if it went, it's very possible that it would disappear and you'd never see it again. But you have pallets, you have the crates with some of the plastic jugs in there, you have your catering vans. Some of those things that may open up 7, 8, 9 spots there across the back. Just some consideration of possibly moving those items over to the Holiday Inn, and then you're utilizing the spaces that you have under agreement.
Correct.
No signage is needed because you're occupying all 12, but you've opened up some more spaces on property for people to use there in the back. Just a thought, just is a question of whether that might have some consideration or some merit moving forward, that you can relocate some of that stuff to those spots, because it's in I-line. Your guys, I think, that get here early in the morning certainly can see it. They may be parking in proximity to it. Just a thought, maybe to afford some more spots to your customers.
Okay, I'll make a note of that.
You know,
Sure.
the unintended consequence of the layout is most buildings have a back that nobody ever sees. Sadly, you're visible 360.
Yep, not us.
You know, so Plaza Drive is not your friend in that regard, and so just a thought.
Yes, sir.
That maybe cleaning up that back end, that might go a long way towards getting some of those spots
Yes, sir,
opened up for customer use.
for sure.
Anybody else? Mike?
Yes, and so, first of all, Mr. Jones, thank you for being here tonight. I think all of us enjoy, or most of us here, enjoy the food that you provide to our community and just what it's doing to generate. I'll have to agree with Commissioner Jablansky, at least on some of the pedestrian-related concerns. So I think in general, I'm in support of this item and recommending for approval to council, but just kind of looking at the amount of folks that are parking over in the graveled area across Plaza Drive, understanding as well, Matt, that this is it's a private road, right? And that's something that had to be on somebody's dime. It's not coming from the town necessarily, but I have to think that putting something as simple as pedestrian crosswalk paint down shows at least an attempt at reducing liability. And if there was, heaven forbid, any sort of incident, that's a whole lot cheaper than the alternative, right? So if there's something there that kind of helps with flow of traffic, flow of pedestrians, keeping in mind maybe even some simple signs that just show, pedestrian crosswalk or watch for pedestrians, something like that. I think that also kind of shows good faith from you all and really to your patrons that are coming to the business. So have no idea what that would do in terms of cost, but I think the cost benefit is in terms of safety. We can't really put a price on that. So I'm inclined to include that as part of a recommendation for approval to council.
I have a general question, it's a pretty easy one. So it looks like it's all going to be CMU block, and it's going to match the little bit of CMU that's already there.
Yes, sir.
Is there any concern with that block not matching, meaning you have older CMU block there, you put up all new, and then the side of it, you got this kind of like, well, there's the old part and there's the new part. Is there any consideration to like paint it in the future or anything like that, or is it just gonna stay kind of that raw gray color?
So there are not any plans to paint it, just because we would like to match what is existing. And, I mean, that CMU wall's been there, I mean, I think since the building has been there.
Yes,
Or-
but this area here, this has been added.
There's a new one.
Yep.
There's already a new section there,
Yes, sir.
and I mean, it blends.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's no concern that we'll have like fresh CMU next to like old and it looks all
No, sir.
janky? Okay, that was it.
Good question.
Anyone else?
Keep firing them. Y'all are doing good.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How'd y'all do on Father's Day?
We're blessed.
The line was around the block.
Yes, sir.
It was a record day.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
It's a
That's
good
good.
day.
It's good for all parties.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else?
No, I do have one question.
Okay, good.
It's as far as doing the remodeling. Is any of that area going to be opened during regular dining hours? Is there a possibility that there could be some contamination that's moving from that site back into the general part of the restaurant? Or is it going to be sealed off so that there's not any dust, debris, or anything else that
Yes.
would move?
Yes, sir. The plan was to seal it off and to keep anybody from going out there and eating. I don't want somebody to leave a nail and they step on a nail.
Exactly.
So we're gonna, and realistically, we're gonna pull all the tables and set them to the side, so no one would be able to sit out there,
Okay,
just for a liability reason.
because I know how some people are.
Yes, sir.
that-
Yes, sir.
So just wanted to ask the question.
No, sir, you're good.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
Commissioner Blansky?
Oh, you had another?
Yeah, the only comment, I know Mike mentioned that adding the crosswalks to the motion would be a good idea, and I agree. I'd also like to say something about the outdoor storage. Look into these possibilities of some kind.
I think that item's come up a number of times, and our city manager is involved in discussions on that and how to mitigate that. So it has come up from time to time.
Yes, but because it's a barbecue place, they're gonna have barbecue things outside, so.
part of their
It is part of the business, and so there's limitations on what you would, ask for outside storage for a normal barbecue place, not any different than, Meet You Anywhere or Heart 8.
I think the point that Terry made about, doesn't have a back. Like most of them, you can hide that stuff behind
Can't hide
the restaurant,
anything.
I understand that, but I think there are some items that could be like.
And I think, isn't the city manager working on that?
Well, and as Matt knows, we've had code enforcement hit him up on multiple times of whether they've got something parked there in the fire lane or,
And the
so.
fire
So
marshal's involved too.
we had the vans parked overnight. The catering vans were parked on our gravel overnight for 3 or 4 nights. And so we said, it's not, you don't want it out there every single night. So then they moved them back over to, so.
So only one other additional comment question. Is there, is there something we can do to keep the doors on the dumpster receptacles shut?
Yeah.
And the only reason I bring it up is, again, one of the unintended consequences is a large majority of your customers, that's their walkway. So they're walking right next to the trash receptacles, the doors are open, you've got stuff, that's either in, out, partially in, out, and so forth and so on. So just curious if there could be something done to keep those doors shut.
I will make note of that and let
Okay.
the GM know that they need to keep a better eye on that.
Just a comment, because unfortunately, when you drive down Plaza and you look, that's the first thing you see.
Gotcha, yes,
You
sir.
know, is the space opens up, you're looking at the dumpsters with stuff either in, out, or whatever.
Yes, sir.
And so the outer doors are open, and I understand when the trash collection has to come. But just curious as to whether or not something could be done to keep those affixed
As
during
far
normal
as-
business hours.
Yes,
I
sir.
understand your guys are gonna have to go out there and throw some stuff away.
Correct.
It's like, shut the door behind you.
Yes, sir.
Just a thought.
I will let them know that.
Okay.
They've been told that.
Just for the record, that is one of the things that the citizen put in their email to us, was that item was number one on our list. She's in favor of everything else, but she doesn't like the dumpster and the supply sitting out there, so.
I don't think anybody likes the dumpster. I don't like the dumpster.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil.
Yes, sir.
But I think it'd go a long way just to get those enclosure doors shut.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anything else? Anyone? All right, again, thank you for your time.
Yes,
Sir,
thanks.
thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve PD AMD 25002. Make a motion for approval or recommendation of approval to town council with the addition of consideration of pedestrian crosswalk markings and potential signage between at the location of Plaza Drive crossing over from the Holiday Inn. Yes, Matt, right in that area, please. That intersection, as well as for the additional parking that's town-owned over to the area that's, basically the immediate area surrounding the restaurant, those two locations.
Okay.
Did y'all get that? Okay.
So, point of order.
Yes.
Those crosswalks may impact businesses not associated with this motion. So how do we move that forward?
That's a
Because
good
we
question.
have-
I mean, I have
we
to
have
make a
other
presentation to
entities.
city
Yeah,
council,
we have
and I don't
other
know if this is a
entities
side one or part of
Yeah.
our recommendation.
Because I can see moving from town property onto Hutchins property, moving from Holiday Inn property to Wood Spring property, or that piece of property that's up for sale, that's out there beside Hutchins. So there may be other entities involved in that grant that Hutchins doesn't have control over. And it being a private road, I don't know how including that in the movement to council can be covered.
So I don't have an issue bringing this concern up with our engineers and let
Yeah.
them look at this and see what might
Yeah.
be best solution for all circumstance,
'Cause
all parties
I think
involved.
on merit, Commissioner Branham is perfectly correct in what
Yes.
he wants to do. My question is the implementation. Since we're only dealing with Hutchins at this point, if we have multiple crosswalks, they involve parties not of this particular motion or PD amendment. So I don't,
So the question is, do we include it in this amendment, or
Right.
is it a side recommendation based on our discussion today? That I present to council when I make my presentation?
So, staff, we do have time between now and council to be able to come up with an answer to council. So,
So the motion as suggested is fine?
sure,
Okay.
okay.
I just want to make sure we don't, get drag out.
yeah.
Good question.
Perfect. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Further discussion? All right, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Wait a
Yes.
minute. I'll
I did a
second.
second, okay, sorry, you're
Tammy,
right.
I'll second. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda, consider the approval of the April 3rd, 2025 Planning and Zoning Committee meetings, which you all have a copy of in your packet. Do I have a motion to approve? Any changes in the,
I have no changes, so I move they're approved.
okay, do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, it is, we call for a motion to adjourn, but I noticed the mayor the other day, city council, she just adjourns and goes home.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Okay, the time is 7:35 PM and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Slap the table.